if I'm a customer that's made this decision to move to colo, what's driving that decision? Why are customers, what's really pushing them? You've talked about that a little bit in terms of sort of this need for IT everywhere exploding. But what are the key drivers really, in terms of executive level analysis, and what's happening in the world of data centers with customers, reassessing their current provider, maybe going to another provider, and what is there for required of data centers to hold on to their current customers and provide the environment that meets all those security needs, so they prevent really seeing high level of churn in turning over from one center to another.
Wow. Okay.
I know it's a lot, right? A mouthful, right?
Let me start with the first one. What are the key drivers? It's interesting. At a very high level, the key driver is a key question I get from people on a regular basis. Why am I doing this? I'm not in the data center business. I'm in healthcare. I'm in financial services. I'm in manufacturing.
Right.
I'm not in data centers. Why am I doing this? Well, historically, it's because we've always done it. So this realization, number one, that we need to find somebody who's got the skill sets to actually manage and maintain a data center properly, because in many cases we haven't. Oftentimes it's driven by financials, because the data center they've got, it's 30 or 40 years old. It's been upgraded over time, but the next upgrade is going to be a huge financial investment. So that capital spend becomes a decision point to not do it. So that's from, I guess, from a CFO level, what the driver is. From an IT point of view, senior level IT, the real driver is, I've got to be able to move things so quickly and do things so quickly that I can't do it myself anymore. So if I can move to the right colo, who's got the right infrastructure, I can then perhaps leverage that infrastructure. And a good example is people looking at cloud strategies. They realize everything's not going to the cloud. They also realize that the things that may go to the cloud, it may be years before they get there. So if I went into a colo who's got, say, on-ramps to major cloud providers and multiple carriers coming into the building, and essentially I have choice, when I'm ready to begin moving workloads out to the cloud, I can then leverage that provider's infrastructure rather than putting all the pieces of the puzzle in myself. So it makes IT, in many cases, more flexible if they pick the right provider. And that flexibility means the business itself gets more agile. They can do things faster. There's a cascade of effects of benefits to going into a colo versus doing it yourself.
So they're willing to give up the control for the flexibility, it sounds like, because that to me is really interesting.
But all they're giving up control of in many cases is the infrastructure itself, not the IT piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So what's keeping customers in a particular colo, right? I mean, how complicated is it to make the shift? What can a data center do to hold on to their customers?
Interesting question, because traditionally when people went to colos, they signed 3-year contracts. And then at the end of the end of year 2, they're looking, can they negotiate a better deal with some other colo? But most IT shops have realized that the biggest pain and the biggest cost is doing that migration from one site to another. It's a very painful process, because frankly, you're still trying to run the business. So doing a migration when a business is running live, it's fraught with risk. So that's one thing. What the providers are starting to realize, the colo providers, is just having cheap floor space is the wrong model. What you really need to do is add on more and more value-added services, essentially the hook. Because if I sign a 3-year contract, if I'm a customer, if I'm the provider of the colo, my job in life is make sure at the end of the second year, they're not thinking about negotiating something else. They're loving the services I've given them, and they're going to sign up for a longer term contract. So I'm going to layer on other services, network services, security services, lots of new services to allow them the flexibility to use things and essentially make their experience more, I guess, more enjoyable.
So it's customer experience across the board.